A younger employee walks up to their Gen X manager after a difficult meeting and says, "You handled that really well." The manager pauses. Their eyes narrow just slightly. Then they say, "Okay, what do you need?" Everyone laughs because the reaction feels familiar. Someone asks, "Why can't you just take a compliment?" The manager shrugs, makes a joke, and changes the subject. It looks like cynicism, maybe low self-esteem, maybe emotional awkwardness. But what if they are not rejecting the compliment because they secretly dislike themselves? What if they are trying to figure out what the compliment means, what it might cost, and whether it can be trusted? For some people, praise does not arrive as affection. It arrives as information that needs to be verified. And when someone treats a compliment like a possible trap, they may not be cold. They may be following a rule that once protected them. You can see this rule in small reactions. Someone says, "You're the only person who really understands this system." Instead of feeling appreciated, the person immediately thinks, "Great, now they're going to give me more work." Someone praises their cooking, and they point out everything that went wrong. Someone tells them they look good, and they answer, "You need glasses." The compliment is questioned, minimized, redirected, or converted into humor before it has time to land. People often interpret this as a lack of confidence. Sometimes it is, but that explanation is too simple, because two people can reject the exact same compliment for completely different reasons. One person may believe they do not deserve it. Another may believe the person giving it wants something. A third may simply distrust vague approval. Tell them, "You're amazing," and they feel nothing. The statement is too broad, too polished, too difficult to verify, but say, "The way you explained that made the problem much easier to understand," and they may accept it. Why? Because evidence feels safer than approval. Some people build their identity around competence, results, and their own internal standards. They want to know what worked, why it worked, and whether it can be repeated. They are not necessarily asking you to admire them. They are asking whether your evaluation is credible. A vague compliment can feel like social decoration. A specific observation feels like useful data. This can reflect a strong sense of self-efficacy, the belief that you can handle problems through your own actions. The person trusts what they can do more than what someone says about them. That is not always insecurity. Sometimes it is independence. But credibility is only one layer. Even a sincere, specific compliment can create another problem. It makes you visible. Imagine a family gathering where someone begins praising a person's career, parenting, appearance, or success. Before the compliment is finished, the person makes a joke about their failures. They mention a recent mistake. They redirect attention towards someone else. They are not only denying the praise, they are lowering the spotlight. Because being noticed does not feel safe to everyone. Maybe standing out once attracted teasing. Maybe visible pride was treated as arrogance. Maybe success created envy, criticism, or higher expectations. In those environments, understatement becomes a form of social protection. You learn not to appear too impressed with yourself. You soften accomplishments before someone else can attack them. You make the joke first. You point out your flaws before anyone else gets the chance. The compliment says, "People can see you." But the nervous system may hear, "People are evaluating you now." And sometimes the danger is not the attention itself. It is what the attention has historically demanded. For some people, praise feels like the beginning of a contract. "You're so responsible" may sound positive, but perhaps it was usually followed by, "So I know I can count on you to take care of this." "You're the strong one" may have meant that you were not allowed to fall apart. "You're so mature" may have meant that adults expected you to need less than everyone else. "You're the reliable one" may have become a role you were never permitted to leave. When recognition is repeatedly tied to productivity, usefulness, toughness, or obedience, compliments stop feeling free. The person does not hear "you did well." They hear "keep producing." They do not hear "I appreciate you." They hear "do not change." "Do not struggle. Do not disappoint me." This is how praise can become connected to conditional self-worth. You learn that being valued depends on maintaining a certain performance. So when someone compliments you, part of you begins calculating the future. Can I keep this up? What will they expect next? What happens when I fail? The discomfort may not come from believing the compliment is false. It may come from fearing that it will become a standard you are now responsible for maintaining. This is where the generational lens becomes useful, but only if we use it carefully. Not every member of Generation X had the same childhood. Not every Gen Xer distrusts praise. And suspicion toward compliments is not exclusive to one generation. Still, many Gen X environments rewarded independence, emotional restraint, resilience, irony, and the ability to handle things without asking for much help. Visible need could be embarrassing. Self-promotion could invite ridicule. Excessive enthusiasm could make you a target. Humor became a kind of emotional camouflage. If a compliment matters to you, you can make it safer by turning it into a joke. If someone says, "You did an incredible job," you answer, "Clearly, expectations were low." Everyone laughs and the moment passes. You never have to admit that the praise touched you. You never have to reveal that another person's opinion had emotional weight. And that matters because receiving appreciation requires a brief moment of openness. You have to allow someone else's perception to enter your experience. For a person who values self-reliance, that can feel dangerously close to giving someone influence. But here is the important distinction. Resisting approval is not always emotional armor. Some people genuinely have a strong internal locus of evaluation. They know what they value. They know whether their work meets their standards. They do not become euphoric when praised or destroyed when criticized. Their identity is not controlled by the emotional weather around them. They can hear a compliment, appreciate the intention, and continue living according to their own judgment. That is autonomy. Defensive self-reliance looks similar from the outside, but feels different on the inside. An autonomous person does not need the compliment, but they can still receive it. A defended person must dismiss the compliment because accepting it would mean becoming emotionally affected. One says, "Thank you," without making praise the foundation of their identity. The other says, "You don't mean that," because allowing the compliment to matter feels like surrendering control. So the real question is not whether you need validation. It is whether you can receive validation without feeling trapped by it. Skepticism can be intelligent. It can protect you from flattery, manipulation, and dependence on other people's approval. But a strength becomes limiting when it is applied to every situation. When every compliment is treated as a transaction, sincere appreciation cannot reach you. A partner says they admire you and you make a joke. A friend says they are proud of you and you explain why they should not be. A coworker recognizes your contribution and you immediately point out what you did wrong. Over time, the people around you may stop trying. Not because they stopped appreciating you, but because every expression of appreciation seems to be rejected. And without realizing it, you may preserve the belief that compliments are unreliable by never allowing trustworthy compliments to register. The protection creates its own evidence. You expect praise to be false, so you dismiss it. Because you dismiss it, you never experience what it feels like to receive sincere praise safely. And because you never have that experience, suspicion continues to feel necessary. This does not mean you should believe every flattering statement. It means you might pause before automatically protecting yourself. The next time someone compliments you, notice the prediction that appears before your response. Do you expect them to ask for something? Do you feel pressure to keep performing? Are you afraid they will later withdraw the praise? Does being noticed make you feel exposed? Or does accepting the compliment feel like giving another person too much power over how you see yourself? The most revealing question is not, is the compliment true? It is, what do you believe will happen after you accept it? Because people do not reject praise only because they doubt the positive statement. Sometimes they reject it because they fear what believing it could make possible. Hope, obligation, visibility, disappointment, expectation, intimacy. Receiving praise does not require abandoning judgment. You can listen without becoming dependent. You can appreciate someone's opinion without making it your identity. You can remain alert to manipulation without assuming that every kind word hides a demand. Perhaps the Gen X manager from that first meeting does not need to become enthusiastic or emotionally exposed. Maybe the next time a younger colleague says, "You handle that really well," they still feel the familiar suspicion. But instead of immediately asking, "What do you need?" they pause long enough to recognize the old prediction. Then they say, "Thank you. That means something to me." No debt is created, no control is surrendered. The compliment is simply allowed to arrive. Because accepting appreciation is not the same as depending on approval. Sometimes it is just the decision to stop treating every open hand like it is hiding a contract. If you recognized yourself or someone you love in this reaction, share your experience in the comments and subscribe for more explorations of the hidden rules behind human behavior.